You need to think about what you're thinking about. What does that mean? The thoughts you have, the way you feel about people, the way you feel about money, the way you feel about maybe relationships, about love, about friendship, all of that. You need to think about the way you think about those topics, because once you do that, you'll understand a lot about yourself, you know? When we when we grow up, right, and as kids, often we are we are shaped by our environment, by our parents, by the people around with, just how we grow up, you know. As a child, our brains aren't really fortified, so anything you tell a kid or behaviors that you show a kid, they will just soak up like a sponge, right? And a lot of us grow into adulthood carrying some of these traits and behaviors and just thinking ways that aren't they just aren't productive no more. They don't help us grow in life, right? So that's why I say you need to think about what you're thinking about. Really dissect the way you think about, I mean, whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, or whatever you don't like about yourself, or the things you do like about yourself. Think about what emotions are behind this way of thinking. Where did you get this thinking from, right? Especially if you want to heal yourself, the first step is to take accountability and think back to what you were taught that led you to act in that same way. You got to find the root cause of it, you know? And once you do this, once you're looking back, you need to look back and analyze your life with no emotions. Because once we bring emotions, especially when we're trying to fix ourselves, there's things that we don't like about ourselves, you know, quotation marks, don't like about ourselves, even though what we don't like about ourselves was often told to us by someone else, or behaviors we learned from someone else. But anyways, when you look back and you think about the things that you don't like about yourself, you need to take emotion out of it, you know, because shame, guilt, those are gonna wanna, you know, you're gonna wanna latch onto those, you know. That's just kind of the, I don't want to say normal thing, but that's just really what happens, you know, especially when you don't really understand how to truly self heal. We often feel shame and guilt, and shame and guilt is the exact opposite of what we want to feel, because shame and guilt mean that we're not good enough, that it's our fault, that we don't deserve forgiveness. We're not treating ourselves with love when we all we think about ourselves is shame. So you knew that, and then you need to accept it. And honestly, accepting is probably one of the hardest parts, because this is kind of where our ego gets involved. You know, a lot of the things and a lot of the ways that we act, it is our ego kind of covering up the holes that we found in ourselves, you know? Like let's say you, for example, you feel like you don't fit in, right? Or you feel like you get help from nobody, right? Like no one helps you. Kind of in turn, your ego understands that you don't like this thing about yourself, so you kind of act. You know, that's what the ego is. It's an act, it's a mask. So you turn into, let's say, a people pleaser, or you have a really hard time saying no because your ego has pinpointed that people don't help you out. So now your ego in turn wants to fill that hole inside of you by saying yes to everybody, by having a hard time saying no. You know what I'm saying? So our ego, imagine, you know, we're this, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but imagine you just have holes in you, you know? And the ego, what it wants to do, it wants to keep you safe, it wants to keep you protected. So it's going to fill these holes in. But the ego is not your true self. Your ego is an act, it's a mask. So once we kind of accept what we kind of have become, or the ways of thinking, or the our behaviors, once we accept that with kind of just accept that with love, you know, because at the end of the day you're trying to self-heal, and that comes from a place of love. Even though it may not feel like it, if you're watching this video, if you're going to work out, if you're doing anything to improve your life, it is out of love, even if you don't think so. Even if someone hurt you, deep down it is out of love. You've just kind of worded it and gone about it in a not so healthy way. So you need to treat yourself with love, right? And that really treating yourself with love helps with the thinking and analyzing part of it with no emotion, because you're doing it out of a healing, out of a healing place. If a little 2-year-old comes up to you and has, it can't fill its glass up with water, you're not going to get mad at the baby because it's a baby, because the baby's learning, right? You're going to fill up the glass of water. You're not going to be annoyed. You're going to feel good because you helped that baby out. That's the same way we need to treat ourselves. Because at the end of the day, we don't know much. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know, just like a baby. Babies don't know anything. Honestly, at least in my experience, I've realized that the more I learn, the more I know nothing. So that just allows me to treat myself with that patience, with that grace, with that love, and it really helps you on your journey, right? So yeah, think about what you're thinking about. That's what I gotta say for today. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that. Thank you.